Hey, good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. Memorial Day. Vacation day. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning. When you come on here, if you come on live, I know it's early. Maybe you're sleeping in. It's a holiday weekend, holiday day. Celebrating Memorial Day. Celebrating a Memorial Day. Interesting. I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. This is Mark Avens, The Daily Dose, episode number 57. Crazy to think. We're almost 60 episodes in. Hope you've had a fantastic weekend, enjoyed some time with your family. Maybe you're able to get out and about, got some beach time in, and just maybe able to relax, able to celebrate. Interesting, we think about, celebrating Memorial Day when, obviously if you know what Memorial Day is about, and I'm not a historian, so I don't know all the background. I know a lot of it deals with Civil War, but of course it is Memorial Day in honoring those who have fought for our country and died for our freedom. And why I say celebrating Memorial Day, I'm going to jump on here. Hey, good morning, Deb, is to share with you how this is a celebration for me. And I was thinking about this and it being a holiday weekend, and what do people want to hear on a Monday? Well, it's getting started for a fresh new week, but it's still a holiday. So I'm still enjoying my time, but we also got to remember that men and women fought for our country and for our freedom, and we want to memorialize that, whatever that looks like for you. Maybe you have a loved one who died in combat or died in war, in whatever war. I know we celebrate Memorial Day, but there's a different celebration too that I want to share with you. And it was interesting because I didn't think about it. This is 18 years later, and I haven't really thought about this. I hope this resonates with you because it actually did a lot with me today. Today also marks, and it doesn't always fall on Memorial Day. The 25th of May is also a celebration because it's the day that my wife and I got married 18 years ago. We've known each other for 20 years. Today is our wedding anniversary, our 18th wedding anniversary, and there's a bit of celebration. But what's even cooler about that is we didn't really think about it. We're like, hey, it's a long weekend. Back 18 years ago, when we were in our later 20s, is thinking about, okay, we're going to get married. A lot of people get married in a longer weekend, and they have maybe family that come in town, and they think about, the best way to do it. And when we got married up in New York, we had a lot of family come in town, and they got to extend it. It was a long weekend. We didn't really think about it, obviously, just it being a holiday weekend. But now I also think about this Memorial Day as we honor those who died for us and for our freedom. There's a lot of other things I think of for me personally, and maybe you've experienced this in other things. Maybe if you're celebrating I know a lot of people are celebrating anniversaries, wedding anniversaries, whether it's your first, your 10th, your 35th, your 50th, is that there's also a celebration and a memorial. So celebrating a Memorial Day, because for me, 18 years ago, what that meant, now it was really 20 years ago when I just was done, when Nicole and I met. And I was like, I'm done. This is it. And I don't know if you've ever experienced this, meeting somebody, whereas like you meet somebody and you're like, oh, this is it. This person and I, we're going to be together, and that's the deal. But at the same time is when we said I do, we also were saying goodbye to our old self. And that's a bit of a Memorial Day, is the old self, the single self, right? The past, before getting married, when you were a single or a bachelor or a bachelorette. And there's interesting that we got married on a Memorial Day weekend because we also are memorializing. Now, I know this is not equating it, because it has nothing equating it to the level of honor we need to give to those men and women who died for us. But also there's a bit of death that happens when you get married in a good way, is that the old self of you being single gets moved away when you become now one. Isn't that amazing? That's also kind of in a sense with our faith journey, is when you commit yourself to God. And this happened for us after we got married, is when you're committing yourself to a life pursuit of faith and pursuit of the relationship with Jesus to get closer to God, have that relationship, that connection, you're also putting off and dying to yourself in the past. And what's interesting about the word memorial memorialize, if you will, is that it's a remembrance, right? An honoring, remembering. And I'll tell you what, as I see, my kids are teenagers and going through, dating, maybe you have teenagers or have people that are in that period of courtship, if you will, or learning about themselves and relationships and stuff. And we have teenagers, so if you can feel me on that, is also thinking about, I look back at the experiences prior to getting married and just, memorialize, and not like it's put off, it's behind us, but also that's part of who I am and how I've grown. And us thinking about our veterans now, thinking about people who have fought for our country, and those especially on today who have died for our country, is in remembering them, and remembering them in a way that they put their lives at stake for you and for me, so we got freedom. And that's an amazing gift. So it was interesting. It just kind of was an aha moment for me today, thinking about, would it be possible for me even to be able to do something like this? If it weren't for the men and women, would it have been possible? Now, of course, probably would have been possible to get married, but also knowing that there's a lot of freedom that goes into relationships and meeting people and getting married and starting a family, and there's a bond that's tied there from those who have provided the ability for us to have freedom as American citizen. And I'm so grateful for that. So honored for those who did step up to the plate and step in harm's way, if you will, to provide a path for somebody like me who was I'm not a veteran. I didn't fight for our country, but I'm so grateful because it gave me opportunities to meet the love of my life and to get married and to have a family and have that kind of freedom is truly, truly amazing. So yeah, it's interesting celebrating a Memorial Day. I never really thought of it, but today, 18 years later, we are 18 years married, 20 years together, 18 years married, and there's a special bond. And I'm always going to think about it now in a Memorial Day setting, is looking back at the old self. So my question to you is, just don't want this to be about me. I want this to be encouraging for you. Maybe not today, but maybe thinking, is there something in your life that you are ready to memorialize, to put behind you, or to remember, to have a remembrance, not to forget, but also something that maybe it's time to die off, to kill off yourself. And this is not to get dark, but just to share. Maybe there's some things, fear, anxiety, frustration, anger, some things that it's time to put behind you and to move forward. And one of the things, you think about marriage, you think about love, and what really the scripture that came up for me on this day today, with my wife being married to her for 18 years, it is a scripture that really truly signifies love. And it's 1 Corinthians, and maybe if you've heard this, chances are, if you're Christian, if you're a believer, you've heard of this scripture, 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7. And I want to share that with you. And then that's going to be it for today. So we're going to go celebrate Memorial Day, and we're also going to celebrate our wedding anniversary today. And I want to just leave you. Now, this may be something you haven't heard of. If you've not been in the Bible, if you maybe don't even know what the whole God thing is about, and maybe you understand, or you think you understand what love is. Here's the thing with 1 Corinthians. This is an awesome scripture passage. Love is patient. And the reason why it resonated with me is I think of how some people say, well, how do you do it for 18 years? As you look to somebody for 30 years or 40 years or 50 years married, how do you do it? And everybody will have their own, I guess, opinion of what that looks like. But for me, it's about love and understanding love, not lust, not like I love coffee, not like that, or I'm in lust with this person, not that. I'm talking about true love. And I don't really understand true love until I started to understand God's love for me. 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7 says, love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Listen to this. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. And as I just read through that, it just makes me think of the bond that my wife and I have held for the past really truly 20 years, 18 years being married, and when we became one, and this covenant that we have with each other. and the love that's bound even more now, that's holding our marriage closer and tighter than it ever has in the past. And it continues to grow, and be it partly understanding each other, going through life experiences, the struggles. Because let me tell you, there's lots of times where we were not patient with each other, where we had not been, I'll just speak for myself, kind, where, you know, as far as being rude, those types of things. But don't get me wrong, is that we know when we're pursuing what 1 Corinthians says, is that it truly is what kind of provides the strength that we've been able to endure for the past 18 years. Because I'll tell you what, there was lots of things that we bared for each other. There was lots of things that we were feeling hopeless on, a lot of things that we had to endure in each other's lives, lots and lots of things. And not to go into all of those right now. Lots of things that we'd like to put behind us, so to speak, and to like just to say, hey, we're not going to memorialize and we're not going to think about those things. But truly, today is a day to not just, I say for me personally, honoring, of course, those men and women who fought and died for our country, and that's true also for marriage. If you think of, and if your wedding anniversary is coming up anytime soon, is to think of that passage. And I'm just going to say it one more time, 1 Corinthians 13:4-7, love, true love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. And there's many times that I've had insisted on my own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice at wrongdoing, but rejoices with the truth. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, and endures all things. And gosh, there's a reassurance there for me, is that when I pursue this kind of love, how I pursue it best for my wife and for our relationship is pursuing God's path for my life. And my approach is to lean in on Him so that I'm able to get closer to my wife. For husbands out there, if there's any husbands out there, you want to get closer to your wife, you lean into God a little bit more, lean into His path for your life, and He's going to direct you the right way to be the best husband that you can be for your spouse. And that goes both ways, but I'm just speaking to the husbands out there. And I would say I don't have it all perfect. I mess up. I get impatient. I sometimes am rude with what I say, or have some anger and all those things. But what I seem to do is continue to lean in on those things. And the other thing in this, like this celebrating Memorial Day, is thinking not to just put everything behind you, but just to remember where you came from. Remember where you were in the past. To go, and I'm talking, there's things that are dead to me now, that are in the past, that really died off, and that I memorialize now, being married for the past 18 years, being single. I don't wish that on anybody. That was hard. I feel for those who are maybe in their 40s right now or 50s, and they're single and they're struggling. They want to find that person to spend the rest of their lives with, or they maybe struggled and had relationships that were hard. Like, you know, those are things that I feel for you. I know it's got to be tough. I can't even imagine now versus even being tough when you're in your 20s. But I would say maybe there's some certain things that you have to kind of memorialize and put behind you, put to the side. Those things that aren't loving, things that if you're not patient, if you're rude, if you're, you know, boastful, if you're arrogant, all those types of things that may be the reason why that it's hard for you to find that special someone. So with that, it is Memorial Day. We're going to honor and we're going to celebrate, my wife and I, our 18th wedding anniversary. I hope you have a blessed Memorial Day. I hope your week is off to a great start. And this is the Daily Dose. So I hope this provided some encouragement for you, as it's what my intentions are by doing this daily live video, 8 a.m. If this is encouraging to you, feel free to share that with somebody. Come on here tomorrow, Tuesday, 8 a.m. for another Daily Dose. We'll see you. Take care.